Hey, you look like a college student or a high school student, maybe even middle school, who wants to know a little bit more about the planet Venus. You've come to the right place. What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Bonnie Banter, the show where I give you my very best Bonnie bias on everything and anything. And as I'm sure some of you have noticed by this point, those of you who are new, welcome. But you all know that if I'm in college, I've got a video presentation for you, which is cool by me because it means I've got more time to entertain and educate you guys. So today, we're going to be taking a dive into the planet Venus. You guys can't see that. Awesome.
What's something really important that you should have been taught in school but you weren't?
Guys, Venus is actually a pretty sweet and unique planet for a number of different reasons, and that's why I chose it for this project. But first, we gotta take a look at where this fiery ball of beauty came from. Venus is the only planet in our solar system named after a female goddess, and the point of that was because it was the third brightest object in the sky after the sun and our moon. Hence, they named it after the goddess of beauty. While Venus was technically visible to the naked eye, Galileo was the first one to call dibs on it in 1610. And he discovered a number of other things with it, but this was one of the more important discoveries. Venus actually came to be around 4.6 billion years ago or so, along with the rest of the planets in our solar system, and we actually like to refer to it as Earth's sister because it shares a lot of resemblances with it, but it definitely had a much different fate than our planet. So why do we call this thing Earth's sister exactly? Well, it's practically started out as nearly the same planet. It was covered with oceans, had a bit of mountains, it's got a lot more volcanoes now, but it was made up of an iron core, a hot rocky mantle, and a thin layer of crust, which is the same thing we've got going on right here at home. Let's get the boring hard facts out of the way. Talk about the numbers. Venus has a 7,520 mile diameter, 67 million miles from the sun, and it's got a surface temperature of 900 degrees Fahrenheit, making it the hottest planet. It's not the closest to the sun, yet it's still the hottest, and that's mostly due to its atmosphere. It has no moons, mostly active volcanoes, and this thing's atmosphere is mostly made up of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. That 900 degrees Fahrenheit is hot enough to boil lead. It's hot as fuck. This whole planet pretty much reminds me of Lotho Minor from Star Wars. If any of you are interested, if you've seen the Clone Wars, it's essentially a scrapping planet. It's the same color, it rains acid on this planet, and no one uses it for anything because it's too damn hot. But I couldn't find any evidence anywhere that linked the two together, but I know what you're doing, George Lucas. I'm watching you. Venus was actually originally thought to be two different objects in the sky. That's what we thought. And we refer to it as the morning and the evening star. This was denounced after Galileo's observations, but at first, Venus could be seen at two different points, at two different times in the sky, on two different points of the day. So, with that movement around, people didn't realize that it was just one object moving around a little bit. While this planet does stand out on its own, Mercury and Venus are the only planets that don't have satellites. One of the most important finds that Galileo saw when he was observing Venus was that it had phases. This was huge for the time because that meant that it supported Copernicus's argument that objects revolved around the sun and not around the Earth like Ptolemy thought. And some other really cool things that we found out about Venus that's still tripping my mind today. One trip around the sun takes about 225 Earth days. That's how long it takes to make its trip around the sun. So to get 1 year is about 225 Earth days. But here's the kicker. One day, one rotation on its axis takes roughly 243 Earth days. And when you compare the two of them, what doesn't line up here is that Venus's day is actually longer than its year. You can imagine what that's going to do to the terrain of a planet like this. Another unique part of this planet that stands out is that it actually rotates in the opposite direction of most planets.
Why do you go in the fucking wrong direction?
This gives it a retrograde motion. Venus says, hell no, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. It's kind of sweet. And the rotation that it has is actually what gives it its more spherical shape, which is why it's one of the most visually, I'd say one of the most visually perfect objects in the sky, just because of how spherical it is. It's less chipped and rocky everywhere. Venus is a really cool planet for all of these reasons and so much more, and you can find out a lot more through hundreds of different websites, I'm sure, and I know that a planet like this has had to have inspired many people, especially in Star Wars. So if you guys are interested in learning more, go find some more for yourself. If you found this video helpful, make sure you leave a like. And thank you all so much for watching this. I will see you all in the next one.